it has come to my attention that one of the best articles in Wikipedia, source of all knowledge and truth, is Under Siege. Dun dun dun.
What's going on?
Well, it is an article called Traditional Monarchy, which is obviously from the style of writing and the mistakes. It was written chunks of it was obviously different hands, but chunks of it were written probably by a person who wrote in Spanish or Portuguese or Italian as a native tongue. Despite that, it's filled with really good information about traditional monarchy, as traditional Catholic monarchy, as opposed to constitutional, absolute, or feudal. It's a great article, and I don't say that just because I've popped up in it, although I have.
Oh, okay. Well, now we get it. Now we never. That's why we never heard of it until now.
This is not special pleading. Well, that's because I wasn't added until last. But no, seriously, they do mention me literally in one sentence as an American who's interested in this stuff. But it's a really, really good, well done article. And if you go to it, it says this article is being considered for deletion. Because, there are certain ideas that little whitebreads shouldn't be allowed to think.
Somebody pocket that. Somebody archive it or save it just in case it goes bye-bye, please.
Just in case the whitebreads get their way. The little ones.
This has been on my mind lately because Wikipedia has been in the news a little bit. I think they're hurting for funding a little bit. I know Elon's talking about them. Wokepedia, right? I wanted to ask you how you think how easy it is to replace Wikipedia with. Obviously it takes a lot of effort. It's probably highly volunteer dependent.
It is.
Are we really stuck with it forever?
Well, nothing's forever. I'm so old. I remember when there wasn't a Wikipedia.
Well, not forever, but
look, the problem is Wikipedia is almost the last gasp of something common on the internet.
What?
Everything is specialized. Everything according not simply to subject, but according to taste, according to view. In other words, the vast majority of people would call themselves liberal or conservative or progressive or sane or whatever they might call themselves, tend to gravitate toward a particular set of things on the internet that simply reflect their views.
Right.
What has been constantly eroding has been a really or apparently neutral marketplace of ideas. And Wikipedia, certainly in its beginning, attempted to continue that tradition and still makes a stab at it, kind of like archive.org. Although archive.org, they have the complete set of Triumph magazine on archive.org, and it's all been wiped out.
What?
Yeah, it's all gone.
Okay. Why?
The thoughts the little whitebreads shouldn't think. See, little whitebreads, they should.
But that's not even editorial. That's just simply like putting documents in there.
But they're documents you shouldn't read.
That's way worse than editorializing to me, because that's not even.
Well, yeah, it's 1984.
That's book burning.
It's book burning. It's elimination. It's 1984. It's the Ministry of Truth.
That's crazy.
Well, if you don't like it, you should write to archive.org and ask them why they keep asking you for money. And if they really want some.
That's actually something that we should all do. The one time I did it post-COVID, the business owner went bonkers. Absolutely bonkers. And it was actually over something quite trivial. It was over Mother Moo's, our favorite ice cream store. Really cute, really small town. And they're being stupid about masks and other things. And so I didn't want to wear masks anymore, and so I went to a different ice cream shop, and I bought a lot of ice cream, and then I went ahead and I emailed them and I showed them the check that I paid from the other ice cream shop, and the owner went absolutely berserk on me. It was crazy. I loved it, and And what's more important, after she went berserk, she's like, "Oh, I'm saving lives with the mask and all this and that," and it was this giant rant. And then next week they didn't require masks.
No.
Literally next week, because it was hurt. I like to think because it was hurting, the do-re mi.
Well, and I think it also there's an old saying in the trade: for every one letter you get, there's 100 people who don't write and feel the same way.
Right.
And this doesn't work so much usually with government, but it can with private things.
Right.
And so it's quite likely. I mean, the lady, apart from putting out a really good product, you can't take that away from her.
Yeah.
Apart from that, she's not stupid. You don't accomplish what she's accomplished by being a moron.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that after she got over her initial fit, she looked and she thought about the dollars and cents, and also about the fact that, all these other businesses had dropped masks and somehow people weren't dying. And she did it. And hats off to her because it showed she was smart.
Yeah.
And again, I can't maximize enough the high quality of her ice cream. It's really, really good. I was tempted to stop by there after breakfast today, but somehow going from breakfast to
the ice cream
to
shop,
to
Peacock Donuts,
to Peacock Donuts to here. I mean,
you're gonna have to get a wheelbarrow.
I mean, look, as you all can see, all of my suits are becoming form-fitting again, and in such a form. That would have been too much. Had to butter the doors so I could get in the studio entrance. The resulting pop. Oh, he's here. So anyway, just so you know, there are a lot of culinary choices in this part of the world, and if you eat every one of them, you'll notice it. I know I have. I mean, anyway. So seriously though, the suppression of Triumph magazine, if you deal with archive.org, you deal with the Wayback Machine, whatever. Write them and ask them and say, do they really not want you to give any money ever again? And ditto with our friends at Wikipedia, source of all truth. Why would they want to take down a well-researched article on a series of ideas that I guess, little white breads aren't allowed to think? And I get it, because this kind of thought really and truly is primarily Latin, not exclusively, but it's primarily Spanish, French, Portuguese, Italian, Central European, greasy people. And I can see why WASP descendants of a, certain caste would be embarrassed by it. It'd be kind of like having, I don't know, garlic-filled canapes.
Yeah.
It would offend your ethnic prejudices. Like the old joke about the Unitarian lady in Boston, when she was asked why she couldn't believe in the divinity of Christ.
I remember this one.
Yeah, she said, I simply cannot believe in a God who would name his only son after my gardener. And I can understand that kind of prejudice informs a great deal of the Wikipedians. And I accept that, being of French-Canadian, New England descent, the son of men who were second and third class citizens in rotting mill towns owned by old Yankees. I understand completely. And I know we should know our place. I get it. But it's still not fair.
There, and it's interesting because you wonder what to do. I've talking to there's sort of a network of Catholic entrepreneurs out there, and a lot of us, a lot of people have a problem with YouTube as well, right? Because there's certain restrictions, there's certain things you can't say. This channel has experienced a couple strikes. Because of their weirdness. But
I've never had that problem.
But what we was attempted was doing an alternative YouTube. There's been multiple attempts, actually. It's not just sort of the Catholic world, but they don't pan out. And one of the reasons why I think they unfortunately don't pan out is because, see, like, there's two sides, right? And they're each what you'd say active minorities.
Yeah.
But in the middle is this giant group of people that just want to put out content.
Yeah.
This is what people ate in the medieval times. History channels. There's all sorts of wonderful documentary channels that are neither here nor there. They're just
good stuff that's there.
Good stuff, and so you miss out on that.
And that's what you don't want to miss out on.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's, as I say, if these sorts of things interest you, right, the party is responsible. I'll just say that while you accept the fact that censorship is important and it's necessary to carefully guide thought, lest people have one. If thought is left to itself, people tend to have them.
Yeah, I guess I agree. Yeah.
And that can be a danger, and I accept that. But I also accept the fact that some thoughts, by their nature, remind one of smelly garlic Latin peoples.
Well,
I get it. I am one.
This reminds me of Charles Coulombe prediction. I remember when we first came out, and you were making all these predictions left and right, and people are hailing you as a prophet over various things.
Criswell's own.
One of the things that I'm going to bring to mind is your prediction that banning these ideas and putting them off limits, that's sort of creating this forbidden fruit. And I think, remembering how you said people are going to delve into these even more than you ever imagined.
Yeah, and honestly, I stand by it. The article in itself, to say nothing of actually somebody going to the trouble of putting all of Triumph magazine online. I mean, that's a lot of work.
Yeah.
And you don't do that unless it's a labor of love. If you look at the article, the Traditionalist Monarchy article, it is so long and so informative. There's so much to it that, this is obviously a person or persons, probably persons, who are really into it, and probably would not have been so into it if they weren't ideas that are outside the permitted spectrum. I mean, and when I'm saying the permitted spectrum, even fascist ideas, even Nazism, is within the permitted spectrum in comparison. And the fact is that the Nazis and fascists are welcome if only as whipping boys. But these sorts of ideas are dangerous to the regime because there's nothing inherently evil or pernicious about them. That's what's wrong with them. Don't get me wrong. Maybe they're not correct. Maybe they wouldn't work. Maybe they're impractical, although they do have a long record of having worked. But in that sense, they're much more of a threat to the powers that be, these ideas, than those of Hitler or Mussolini or whatever, Stalin, which are, after all, simply variations of the same modern theme.
Well, and this is part of the reason why I wonder how long China can last. Because talk about repression of ideas.
Well, repression of ideas, and also an ever greater distance in economic being between the rural and the city. How sustainable is that? How long that? I don't know. And again, the foolish mind can say, well, that'd be a great thing. If China collapses in civil war, we'll all feel it, and not in nice ways, because she has her hands on the economic, and you can say, well, at least we'd be able to get all our paper back. Yeah, you forget how much of our trade is with China. How much of our cheap crap do we get from China? We'd have to start making here again. And then you could say, okay, well that would stimulate American jobs. It doesn't happen overnight. That kind of disruption in the economic flow would take several years to renew. And of course, when it was done, I mean, I'm so old. I remember when we didn't trade with mainland China, and all of our garbagey stuff was either made here or in Japan. It was gradual that all that shifted. To suddenly change it overnight would be
dramatic. Yeah, it would be rough.
It'd be very rough. So, maybe in the end it would be for the best. That's true for so many things. But anyway, never you mind.